Hey Story Seekers, what's up? My name is Michaela Woods, and sorry for what I'm wearing. It's not the greatest because I just got done with softball practice, but you're just gonna have to deal with it because I really want to talk about something. Well, if you read the title, you know what it is, but... So this channel is called Seeker for Stories, and stories is a wide topic, and I believe that stories can be told over many different formats, not just books. So I also want to discuss some movies. Obviously, movies that were turned, or books that were turned into movies, but I also want to talk about, some movies, some nerdy sort of movies. So in other words, superheroes. So guess what I saw before softball practice? That's right, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I really can't wait to discuss this with you guys. So, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Did anyone else cry? Because I did. A lot. So before we get into spoiler stuff though, I'm going to tell you what it's about. Spider-Man 2 takes place after, Spider-Man. Now, quick backstory, I didn't really care for the first Spider-Man. It was okay. I just liked the original trilogy a lot better. I mean, it had its faults, obviously. But, I was connected so much with that trilogy. So now that I'm seeing this, I didn't really care for the first one. However, I saw the trailer for the second one, and it looked like a big step up from the first one. So I wanted to give it a try, and boy, am I excited that I did, because I loved it. Let's just say, yeah, I loved it. So Spider-Man is back and saving the world, and we first meet up with this one guy, Max. Can't forget his name after, you don't wanna. So Spider-Man ends up saving his life at one point, and Max obviously had something going on with his head. Like, he wasn't right all with it. So, I mean, he had a shrine of Spider-Man, and it was a little freaky, actually. You could tell he had something wrong up here a little bit. So Spider-Man saves him, and he thinks they're best buds. And what happens is he ends up getting in an accident with a bunch of the electric eels, and let's just say it doesn't go too well. Obviously they were doing some tests on them, so he got into there and ended up becoming all electro stuff. So guess who he becomes? You guessed it, Electro. So we have him basically as the main bad guy. And of course we're also introduced to Harry Osborn, and he has a situation where he's sick and dying. His father just died, and Peter and him are best friends. I mean, obviously if you're a fan of Spider-Man, you kind of know where I'm going with this, so. And with all the bad guys and crimes going on, he's also kind of struggling by staying away from Gwen because he doesn't want her to get hurt, and it's very sad. It's kind of sad. But anyways, besides that, you can go watch the trailer. But quickly, I thought the acting was phenomenal. I loved, all of the acting. It was so great. And I never wanted to end. Everyone was just perfect at it. Acting was awesome. And let me say, even though I am a big fan of the original 3, and I wasn't even a big fan of the first one of the Amazing Spider-Man, this was probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. I loved it. It was really good. So the acting was top-notch. I absolutely loved it. It was great. Now the cinematography was awesome. Some shots, where they just have, this is your straight shot. They had, some moments where they kind of tilt it, and I don't know, I liked that. It was really cool for me. It was different. And of course they had the 3D, the cinematography, everything. It was great. I like the 3D with this. There's not a lot of movies that I like 3D with, but there were some cool 3D moments in this. The CGI was really good as well. They had some amazing effects. I loved the blue skin on Electro. It was perfect, and I love how, with his voice, it was like he was talking through a fan. They had that cool effect that was just... I loved it, and, seeing the transformation for some of the villains was it was really cool, and I really liked it. So, overall, I gave this movie 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Okay, so you guys know the drill. If you don't want to be spoiled, then leave right now, because we're going to talk about this movie and how awesome it was. So I strongly suggest you go see it. So I got some ice cream here with me, but kind of need it because who else cried? There was many points in this movie when I cried, but you know the part I'm talking about. Gwen. I don't even want to say it. How could you not cry in that moment? I mean, the acting was so perfect. I lost it. It was bad. Sorry, I'm like a racehorse, but so good. So I love how in this movie Spider-Man just like shit talks everyone. He's so awesome, and just like the first scene, the guy's driving that huge bus and plowing everyone over, who later becomes the Rhino, that guy, and he just like knocks on the hello, yeah, can you roll down the window? Yeah, this isn't gonna work out. I don't know exactly what he says, but it was funny, and I just love how it's just so humorous, and I love how he talks like that, because it's funny, and it's more kind of realistic. You know, you'd see a teenage guy kind of like doing that. Makes sense. I also like how in this movie the villains got a lot of like backstory, and you sympathize with them for a while. Like the Electro is just, he's misunderstood basically, you know, for a while. You know, he's got some issues up here obviously, but I didn't feel like he was completely the bad guy, you know. It's just some misunderstanding. I mean, everyone treated him like crap, and that's a recipe for any villain with some messed up things up here and people just looking down on them. Yeah, that's a big recipe for a bad guy, especially when he gets the awesome electric powers. Well, awesome as in I wouldn't want to have them, but they're pretty cool. And I like how in that scene, you know, his kind of big coming out scene where in Times Square, and, you know, he sees himself on screen. He's like, oh, I'm somebody now, you know. People actually know that I exist. You know, and he's also scared. When Spider-Man shows up, you know, he's so scared, and, you know, he really doesn't want to hurt anyone. You know, when he's doing all this stuff, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He really didn't mean to at that moment. But, you know, when he had his face up there, you know, he thought he was somebody, then Spider-Man comes along after saving somebody, and everyone has their eyes on Spider-Man now, you know. He gets all ticked off, and knowing that Spider-Man didn't really remember him when he thought they were best friends. Yeah, that wasn't good. So yeah, I just love how they had more depth to the character, and it was nice. I liked it. I like when movies have depth to evil characters. I like it when they're not just, you know, evil. They have a reason for being the way they are. Even if it's not a necessarily good reason, they at least have a reason. You know, some of them, you know, they spiral a little bit out of control. You know, obviously he had some issues. I liked that backstory. It was nice. I also like how we got to see more of how Spider-Man was, like, intelligent. You know, like, Spider-Man's technically, like, an average guy, but you also know that he's, you know, really smart at the same time. He's average, but he's a smart average person, technically. I like how, you know, he was experimenting with, like, seeing how the electricity went through his webs and getting different batteries and all this other stuff, looking up YouTube videos, and I just love seeing, you know, how he would think in the movie. It was no, like, Ender's Game, you know, how Ender would think, but, of course, Ender's a genius. Spider-Man's not a genius, but he's definitely smart, and I loved seeing how smart he was and how he experimented and tried to do all this other stuff. It was really cool to see, and I like seeing how Spider-Man was smart, because he's smart. I also like the score in this movie. Oh my god, I'm always a sucker for a good score as well. I also like how they gave a little bit more of the relationship with Harry and Peter. That was really nice. They didn't show too much, you know, they just kind of told me, like, hey, we were best friends, he came to see him after his dad died. You knew they had some history, it was implied history, basically. But, you know, I like how they included it nonetheless. Now let's talk about Gwen and Peter. I mean, we've all seen the typical, like, oh, I can't be with you, it's too dangerous. And it's always sad. I mean, it's always sad for me. I'm a girl, so. You saw that they wanted to be together, but Peter, you know, he made a promise to her dad, and he didn't want her to get hurt. He loved her too much, and he couldn't stand to lose her. And that was just really depressing. I mean, we've all seen it before, but at the same time, it was just, I loved this one much better. I like the scene where, you know, she called him up, and they say, okay, we gotta set some ground rules here. You can't laugh. Your laugh is too cute. You can't do this. That's too cute. You can't look at me with your little doe eyes. Ugh. It was just so cute, and, you know, they were a cute couple. I really, really liked them as a couple, and I didn't want to see it end, and I was happy that, you know, they sort of stayed together till the end. Of course, let's talk about that ending now. I mean, it was great. It was a great finale. You know, they took out Electro, that was great, and then we had the Green Goblin come down. I wish we had gotten more of Harry as the Green Goblin, because he kind of felt like he just came in at the end. That was like probably the only thing that I would find wrong with it, but really it wasn't that bad, because you see him again and you know he's going to be in the next movie, which I'm super stoked about. I can't wait for the next one, especially after seeing this movie. But yeah, I wish we had more of the Green Goblin, because to me the Green Goblin's kind of like the main like villain of Spider-Man. So I wish we had seen more of him, but nonetheless, we got a lot of Harry. But you know, he was there and you saw him kind of go into being the Green Goblin, and you knew it was going to happen because he was like, oh, I want Spider-Man's blood, I need to get better from this disease that's going to kill me, I'm dying, and he just wanted it so bad. It's really sad actually. But yeah, so same, coming back to the characters and kind of sympathizing with them, and you don't really feel like they're the bad guys because you're still kind of sympathizing. I get why he's like that. It's just he took it to extremes and it went from bad to worse really quickly. And then of course he puts together that Gwen and Peter are together and she was working with Spider-Man, so Spider-Man is Peter, and he kills her. I mean, as soon as he figured that out and was like, I'm going to take your hope away, then I kind of saw that she was going to die. I didn't want to believe it. And, you know, that last scene when she was falling, I just really, really sad. And, you know, I gasped when, you know, they went from the slow motion to the and she was there and her neck snapped or she hit the pavement. Either one is just so close to saving her. So yeah, and then after that we kind of got the setup for the next movie. The Rhino came out. That little kid running to, like, stop him, just be like the vision of Spider-Man even if he wasn't Spider-Man. I thought that was really cute. I loved it. That was just a great scene, and then he came in at the end and it's like, hey, I'm back to kick some butt. Yeah. Don't mess with me. Yeah, there was a lot of setup for the next movie, which is kind of like why I'm really excited. Even though I had setup for the next movie, I thought this was a great movie just by itself, and I loved it. I really did. So, guys, tell me what you thought about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. How excited are you for the next one? And is this your favorite Spider-Man movie? I know there's a lot of Tobey Maguire fans that are like, he's the best Spider-Man. And I loved him as Spider-Man, don't get me wrong. But this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. And Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. So feel free to discuss this movie down below. I absolutely adored it. It was great, guys. And if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And if you're too late to see it, then you gotta get it on Netflix or something when it comes out, because this was really good and you don't want to miss seeing it. So have a great day, watch a great movie, and I'll see you all later. Bye. So if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Doodly, and Game Center, all at Kaylin318. You can also follow me at Goodreads, Tumblr, and Google Plus at Seeker for Stories. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys with my next video. Bye!